strangely, what the war had done is that it had devolved central authority to the local level. So we have this image of, I think, of an all-powerful Soviet state during the war running it. It was far from the truth. The only way that the state could operate effectively was to devolve authority to the local level to organise their economies. Now, what happened, of course, was that this worked reasonably well. The decentralisation of control in non-occupied areas during the war worked reasonably well for people to organise their food, their supplies, and to supply the military. After the war, central authorities wanted to claw back everything they'd given away. And that's the context in which this conflict occurs. So there's an attempt by the centre to claw back what they've given, and local authorities want to keep it because they've realised that those wartime practices were actually quite effective in allowing them to rebuild their local industries when they weren't getting much help from the centre in terms of resources. So in essence, the local authorities were doing exactly what they should have done under Stalinism. They were abusing rural people for urban ends, but of course they were taking first preference in that abuse away from the centre. That was the problem, you see. And so it's an old problem, not only in Stalinism, but in Tsarist governance. And this is a deep problem, but it plays out in a very different way in this chaotic context, particularly when we look at the famine in 1946 and 1947 in Ukraine, where there's this contest over food and land, and going on into the late 1940s. I mean, it continues along with so many of the terrible wartime conditions from the Second World War in this place.